Hey guys, today we're going to be drawing some objects from still life. Now still life is when you look at something and it doesn't move. It could be a guitar, it could be a lamp, it could be a Rubik's Cube, it could be, I'm just looking around my apartment to see things I have, but I'm going to choose art supplies. These don't move unless I make them move myself. Now, when you pick your 5 supplies, it could be anything. Like I said, Rubik's Cube. It could be kitchen utensils, Legos, blocks, seashells, rocks, whatever you can think of. Pick 5 and get ready to draw them. Now, when you start drawing them, you're going to be arranging them in an interesting way. So just lay them out on your table. Maybe you could just drop them and see how they land. You can purposely place them. You could line them up. You could kind of lay them out like I did here. I did eventually overlap something, so that, and I'll show you how to do that so it looks 3-dimensional. But we're going to be adding some shadows, black outlines, and a little bit of color. And if you want to add a splashed or a splatter effect, you want to use watercolor paint. Now, if you don't have watercolor paint, I have a trick for you. All you need for that is a piece of aluminum foil, markers, and of course, water and a paintbrush. To make that, and I'll show you how to do that once we start the video. Yeah, I think that's all I have. I hope you're ready to start drawing. This is going to be a ton of fun. We're going to work on shading as well, creating shadows in our work of art. All right, see you soon. All right, guys, for this project, you're going to need a piece of paper, a pencil or marker, something to draw with, and your supplies. Now, your supplies should be off to the side somewhere so you are able to grab them when you're ready. I'm going to be drawing with marker just so you could see it better, and it skips a step from having to trace. Pick an object you want to start with. I'm going to be starting with this paintbrush here, and I want it to be kind of diagonal on my paper because it's so big the whole thing won't fit. So I'm going to let most of it go off the page, but I want to see the bristles and the danger zone. All right, so I'm gonna arrange it right about here and start. When you're drawing, make sure you are drawing what you see. I know sometimes you just want to draw because I know what a paintbrush looks like. Well, does it look like the one you're actually drawing? So pay attention to those details, like the ridges I just added and where it starts getting big and then going off the page. Make sure you're paying attention to details like that. It just makes your piece a lot more interesting. All right, keep adding more details in there. Don't forget any sort of indentions. Now, when I draw the bristles of this brush, I'm not going to draw every individual hair. That's crazy. Instead, I'm going to hint that there's a lot of hair by adding some texture on the top of it, and then adding a few hairs just to show that it's not smooth. There are ridges and texture on that piece. Awesome, that looks great. Happy with it. On to my next object. You can place this object wherever you want on your paper. Just lay it in front of you so you can see it really well, and then decide where you want it to be on your paper. I want it close to the marker, but not overlapping yet. So I'll start with what I see. I see the tip of the marker is round and it's very straight, and I'm going to draw the cap, and then I'm going to take it all the way back and draw the end. The best part of drawing markers is the details. It's a very recognizable object and shape, so when you add those kind of wavy lines and other details on a marker, everybody just knows what it is automatically. And the best part is you can pick whatever color you want when you start adding your color. This is looking good. Don't forget those wavy lines. Everybody knows those wavy lines. Cool beans, that looks great. Oh, and the words. You can't forget the words. Now I can't see all of the letters, but you see the bottoms and you can tell what it is. Very good. Get ready for some shadows. You're gonna need your pencil for this one, and your shadows should be consistent. That means they're all gonna be on the same side of every object. So if you look at the object the way it should be looked at, like if you were to hold up your paintbrush, find the right side of it or the left side, whichever you decide, and you're only creating your shadow on one side. Make sure you push pretty hard with your pencil when you color, and not just one line. It's kind of a continuous coloring of a line, and then you'll use your finger to soften that line. That will give it that kind of shadowy look, and it'll look more blended. Notice how on my marker, see how the marker was on top of the pencil? I ended up drawing it that way. Make sure if you have something that's overlapping in that way that your shadow is bigger on one side, like I ended up doing there at the tip of the marker. So looking at these scissors here, I have the shadows are just on the inside of the finger holes and then on the right side of each blue part. So you can see that when I blend it in, it looks softer and more believable that it's an actual shadow. And you can use this shadowing or shading technique to shade in all of your objects if you don't feel like coloring them in, or you think it looks better just shaded. It's so much fun to practice with this sort of thing. And another bit of information I didn't share is if you have a scrap piece of paper handy off to the side and you color really, really hard on that piece of paper and then rub your finger on that, use your finger to blend and get all that pencil graphite on your finger, that will help create your shadows as well. Once you're done with your shadows, you can start coloring it in with markers or crayons or colored pencils, whatever you have handy. I'm using my markers because that's what I have. And I will go through and add a little bit of color to each one. Again, you don't have to add the color. If you want to just outline it with your black Sharpie or a black marker and maybe color in a few things black and leave it black and white, great. That's an awesome way to have your composition. But I like adding a little bit of color and to keep some things black and white as well. That orange marker, boo, super dried out. All right. Now for the watercolor technique. If you choose to do watercolor and you don't have any at home, use your aluminum foil, grab a marker, color on that aluminum foil in a small area or large area, whatever. Add your water, wake up that ink, and you're just going to tap it on just like this. Super easy. And you can also paint that way as well. You could just brush it on. I hope you've enjoyed.